At the top level of the sport, the athlete's presentation reflects their status. But beneath the tailored suit, these players carry a level of physical conditioning rarely found in any other professional discipline. After running 11 kilometers at maximum intensity, this athlete still looks carved out of marble. There is no redundant mass, only an optimized cardiovascular machine. This lean frame has become the standard for the global elite. From Mbappe to Rashford, the requirement remains the same regardless of individual team tactics or coaching styles. This raises a question about the origin of this physique. We have to determine if this conditioning is driven by aesthetic preference or if it is a mandatory biological adaptation for survival on the pitch. In the 1970s and 80s, football was a game of raw power. Players possessed significant muscular bulk and a much higher body mass than today. The extreme environment of the pitch dictated that size. Historical pitches were often waterlogged fields of mud that created massive friction, rewarding players who could use their weight to push through the resistance. Navigating ankle-deep sludge meant that agility was secondary to sheer physical force. Size was a tool used to fight the drag of the pitch itself. Modern stadiums have replaced those fields with highly engineered, lightning-fast surfaces. This transition to a near-zero friction environment has significantly increased the pace of play. Data from 2,600 players over 5 decades shows a direct correlation here. As the quality of the playing surface improved, players biologically adapted by becoming taller and significantly lighter. The shredded look is an evolutionary necessity. As the environment becomes faster, the organisms within it must shed weight to remain competitive. GPS tracking shows that an average midfielder now covers up to 14 kilometers in a single match. That is nearly a half marathon, performed at high intensity every few days. This distance is covered through hundreds of explosive sprints. The heart rate stays pinned near its maximum limit as the body moves through constant cycles of exertion and recovery. Every kilogram of extra body fat acts as a penalty. It increases movement resistance and places massive stress on the joints, forcing the muscles to work harder for less physical output. The body optimizes for this load by prioritizing high-power muscle fibers while aggressively shedding fat to maximize the player's power-to-weight ratio. For the modern player, excess weight is a biological drag that leads to premature physical failure during the final minutes of a match. Achieving this level of leanness does not involve calorie restriction. Elite players often consume up to 4,500 calories a day to fuel their massive energy output. Pre-match, players consume massive carbohydrates, saturating muscle glycogen stores to ensure a full tank of fuel. Within 30 minutes of the final whistle, they consume fast-digesting nutrients to prevent muscle breakdown, triggering an immediate shift towards structural repair. This process requires the elimination of inflammatory fats and processed sugars. These foods slow the recovery cycle and hinder the body's ability to process energy efficiently. Nutritionists even utilize sleep-specific diets to lower physiological stress overnight, preventing the hormonal triggers that lead to fat storage. The resulting physique is fueled into existence through the use of highly specific, time-gated macronutrients. The match itself serves as a powerful fat burner. The intensity of 90 minutes of interval work keeps the metabolism elevated for hours after the players have left the pitch. Gym sessions focus on low-rep, explosive drills designed to build quick-twitch fibers. The goal is power and rapid footwork rather than adding non-functional muscle mass. Even standard technical drills contribute to a daily caloric deficit. Continuous movement at pace burns energy at a rate that traditional gym routines struggle to match. Recovery tools like cold water immersion help keep cortisol levels low. Managing this stress hormone is critical to prevent the fat storage common in overworked athletes. This combination of perpetual motion and optimized recovery creates an environment where excess body fat cannot be maintained. The footballer's physique exists as a byproduct of performance. Every training session and recovery protocol is designed to ensure the body survives the high-intensity demands of the 90-minute match. The aesthetics are a side effect. This look is achieved when diet, high-speed movement, and recovery are aligned to meet the environmental pressures of the modern game. These clairs represent a biological alignment between movement and structure. It is a frame that carries exactly the amount of muscle needed to perform without a gram of redundant weight. When physical training focuses entirely on performance output, the body naturally strips itself down to its most efficient form. The average adult male carries 18 to 25% body fat. A dedicated gym goer sits around 15%. Then there's Cristiano Ronaldo. He spent 2 decades between 7 and 10%, a statistical floor most human bodies aren't designed to maintain. At this level, every muscle group is visible under the skin. There is no insulation left, only the functional hardware required for the game. Maintaining this state requires a relentless cycle of external inputs. It isn't a result of a healthy lifestyle, it's the result of a biological maintenance program that never stops. It's common to assume these players are simply born this way. Kylian Mbappé, for instance, possesses a high density of fast-twitch muscle fibers and a metabolism that burns fuel with incredible efficiency. But those genetics only determine the starting point. They provide the potential for speed, but they don't keep a person lean by default. To stay at 7%, players lean on unnatural interventions, 7 gym sessions a week, meals weighed to the gram, eaten at specific intervals, and sleeping in hyperbaric oxygen chambers to force the body to recover under pressure. If genetics did the heavy lifting, athletes wouldn't need to dedicate their entire waking lives to these recovery technologies. Modern football tactics have shifted to reward extreme agility over raw size. In the current game, carrying even 3 extra pounds of fat is a competitive disadvantage that shows up instantly on a GPS tracker. During this single 90-minute match, a top-tier midfielder will cover 10 to 13 kilometers. Much of that distance is covered in high-intensity bursts. When the body is forced to perform at that intensity week after week, it aggressively sheds non-functional weight. The cardiovascular load makes it biologically difficult to retain excess fat. Training regimens are now designed to build functional strength while maintaining a specific power-to-weight ratio. Every calorie is accounted for, mapped directly to the workload expected in the next training block. This physique is a byproduct of the 13-kilometer workload, the body's only way to survive the physical tax of the job. If you had to choose to be disciplined every single morning, you'd eventually fail. Elite performance relies on a structure that makes that choice for you. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear explains that the most durable behaviors are those tied to identity. For these players, being lean isn't a goal they're chasing, it's a requirement of who they are. When an athlete looks at a menu, they aren't exercising willpower to avoid the fries. Their identity as a professional makes the choice automatic. The internal debate simply doesn't happen. That identity is reinforced by the environment. Many professional contracts include physical benchmarks and weight limits. If a player shows up to preseason even slightly over their target, they face heavy fines or the loss of their starting spot. Between the internal identity and the external contract pressure, the need for willpower is effectively removed from the equation. The most visible proof of this system appears when it's turned off. Within months of retirement, many players undergo a total physical transformation. Once the 13-kilometer running volume stops, the personalized nutrition plans vanish, and the coaching accountability disappears, the body reverts to its natural baseline. Without the professional matrix forced upon it, the human body quickly returns to a shape that requires less maintenance. This rapid reversion reveals the mechanics. The lean physique is a temporary, manufactured state, held together by the system, not the individual. Staying lean at an elite level requires 7 compounding factors: the evolution of the game, high mileage, calibrated nutrition, functional training, genetic potential, an athlete's identity, and professional accountability. Leanness is a byproduct of inescapable systems. Willpower is a finite resource, but an environment that demands movement and rewards discipline is nearly impossible to break. If you want to change your body, stop trying to force your way through it with effort alone. Build a system. Change your environment so that your daily habits become the path of least resistance. Which of these 7 factors surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you found this breakdown useful, subscribe for more sports science deep dives. Peace.